Blog Talk Radio.
Stand there and shout, or sit there and pout, leap, follow, or get out of the way. There's a time and a place to get into the race, and that time to act is today. Better get in the game, or you'll be to blame. Better grab that old bull by the tail. But freedom's not free, it's gonna take you and me. Stand up for right and prevail. Stand up, make your voice heard. Stand up, spread the good word. Stand up, join the Tea Party cause and help us throw all the bums out. Yeah. Those folks on the hill, they're sending the bell. Putting our kids' futures in doubt. Ought to cut all our taxes with chainsaws and axes. Let the marketplace sort it all out. Stand up, make your voice heard. Stand up, spread the good word. Stand up, join the Tea Party cause and help us throw all the bums out. But if you choose not to do, well, all right. You can stand.
There we go. Hello out there, all you Blog Talk listeners. I am your host, Mark Leyva, and we are listening to Tea Party Talk, Indiana. And I hope you enjoyed the show music, Stand Up by Bruce Ballett. For all those listeners who enjoyed that and would like to download it, go to www.bruceballett.com. That is BELLOTT.com, Bruce Ballett, and the song name is Stand Up. All right, glad to be here tonight. I hope you call in. We have our very own co-host, Peter Recchio from Michiana 912. Are you there, Peter?
Mark, I am. How are you today?
Doing wonderful, Peter. What if I tell everybody out there we have our special show guest today, State Rep and U.S. House Rep candidate Jackie Walorski, that we'll put on. I see that she's here. So what do you say we get started, Peter?
Yeah, everybody's going to really enjoy this. Jackie is absolutely the best profile for all of us to send to Washington. Everybody's going to be really energized by her. You bet, Mark.
All right. Well, we have Jackie on the line, I believe. Hello, Jackie Walorski.
We do. Hey, Mark and Peter. I'm fired up. I just got breaking news in the last couple of hours that Joe Donnelly voted to make sure that Nancy Pelosi can use the slaughter rule and shove this health care bill through. And I cannot believe, for as many people that were down there at those offices yesterday and today protesting, I cannot believe he voted this way. But this is a real, I think, precursor of things to come this weekend. So I think people better wake up, pay attention, and get with the program.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Well, I'll just say that there has been a lot of talk up on the Hill, and I think there's a lot of Democrats that are very worried about this health care reform bill, and also just that special deem rule that is being presented.
Well, they ought to be, Mark. This is going to cost Hoosiers. You know, there was a white paper produced in August of last year about this health care extravaganza these guys are creating, and that's going to cost Hoosiers about $4,400 per person, per working Hoosier. That's almost $10,000 of disposable revenue if you're a double-income working household, which my district is and the second district is. And I can tell you right now from the inside of state government and from where the margins are on the budget of our state, being able to make some really tough decisions and do the things we've done in the last 5 years without a tax increase, a general tax increase, we can't sustain this. This will decimate our economy. It also said it'll shrink our economy by 5%, which will bankrupt the state of Indiana. So, you know, I'm out there beating the bushes, and many of you have heard the governor out there imploring these congressmen to do the right thing. They didn't do the right thing in November. It's obvious they didn't do the right thing today. They said it's okay for Pelosi to ram this through, and it just blows my mind that when 3/4 of the American public and 3/4 of Hoosiers say no, these guys are going to do whatever it takes. And so, you know, I'm just encouraging people to go to my website, standwithjackie.com, and stand up and take this seat back before we can't get it back. I mean, this is serious business. This is nothing. There's nothing minor about this. This is a major 4-alarm fire.
Oh, geez. I'll tell you, that is breaking news. I don't know if you also saw the article on the Hill about actually the Blue Dog Coalition. Stephanie Herseth Sadlin affirmed no on the bill. She says this mechanism to pass mechanism to pass health care is a real disaster for the entire Congress. So there's the Blue Dogs, I guess, that are standing up a little bit there, Jackie.
Well, you know what? I'm not so convinced about this Blue Dog phenomenon, Mark. You know, I mean, to me, if these guys are so blue, all they've done is has been involved in, since they've been elected, has been involved in red ink, and the red ink is going to bleed into the state of Indiana. And I can tell you, people in this state cannot afford or sustain what they're doing. And I just can't believe, for as powerful as the united voice has been in the state of Indiana for these 3 so-called Blue Dog Democrats, and then for all 3 of them to vote on that resolution today to allow Pelosi to ramrod this thing through, is completely contrary to what Hoosiers want. And I just hope it empowers people even further to get out there in November and throw these guys out.
I couldn't see it anymore. Peter, I want you to jump in here. I mean, I have some questions I want to ask her a little bit, but since we're just on the hottest topic that we have right now, is there any questions there, Peter, you have for Jackie?
Yes, I do. Jackie, I want you to set me straight. If the progressive left's desire is to insure the uninsured, if the progressive left's desire is to reform the holes in our current health care system, if the progressive left's desire is to spend less money on health care, then why does it require a 2,000-page bill tearing the country limb from limb constitutionally for the last year and ramming this through in any crooked, tyrannical way available? If it was their desire to serve the American people, why are they doing it this way? Where am I wrong, Jackie?
Well, here's the thing, Peter, and I couldn't agree with you more. You know, and I've been holding town hall meetings and healthcare rallies since August of last year, you know, battling this concept of this socialized medicine, national health care. And what it is a power grab. This is not about reforming health care. If this was about reforming health care, and you and I have talked about this before, Peter, and you've heard me say this before, if we were really talking about reforming health care, we would do what the American people want, which is to incrementalize the process and do things that work in the state of Indiana and take our own state as a model. In our own state, we have catastrophic health care created by Dr. Bowman decades ago. When we created that decades ago, we put trial lawyers in a box in the state of Indiana, and we capped malpractice medical claims. And so, you know, we don't have a problem in this state attracting research facilities and doctors and specialists because we've capped medical malpractice claims. And we don't allow trial lawyers to have frivolous lawsuits like they do in other states. Well, they won't entertain that at the federal level because the trial lawyers are some of the biggest donors to the National Democratic Party, to Barack Obama, to Nancy Pelosi, to Joe Donnelly. That is who butters the bread that these people hold. They're not interested in reform. They're interested in 1/6 of the economy. They're interested in taking the liberties and the freedoms and the individual dignity away from Americans and putting it in the hands of bureaucrats. And that's not what people signed on for. And, you know, there's ways, you know, we could, you know, and we can get into this later, but, you know, I've been running around saying, you know, there's 4 things we could do today to improve health care. It's not about improving health care. We may have started out with a conversation months ago about improving health care, but we've launched into full-blown socialized medicine where the government comes in and rations care and dictates health patterns and dictates longevity. And unfortunately, not only are the taxpayers in the state of Indiana going to get crushed under the weight of having to bear this burden, but senior citizens are going to be the most vulnerable people that we have, and those are the folks that we should be protecting, because those are the folks that have worked their entire life, they're retired now, They literally are depending upon the government, and now we're about to watch at the hands of this Congress, the hands of Pelosi and Donnelly. We're watching them cut $500 billion out of these retirees' health care, and we're opening the door in the state of Indiana to anybody who wants to be on welfare to join the ranks of the unemployed in the welfare. And it's just wrong, Peter. I mean, we're to the point where we've entered, I call this, now we've entered into the age of absurdity, and I cannot believe, I'm appalled that for as united as the voice has been in Michiana and northern Indiana to tell Joe Donnelly to scrap this thing and start over and to really talk about common sense solutions, I am appalled at the arrogance and the audacity of him supporting Pelosi today and saying it's okay to ramrod this thing through. Last time I checked, it was unconstitutional. Last time I checked, when we raised our right hand as elected officials, the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of the state of Indiana, it was a sacred oath. It was in the eyes of God, our Creator, and it was in front of every single constituent and voter that voted us in office, and it's real, and it's the truth, and if we don't elect people to uphold this Constitution, the framework that this nation hangs in the balance of, then we have nothing left. And I think it's an absurdity that this conversation is taking place at the level it is because of guys like Joe Donnelly.
Couldn't agree anymore. Hey, Peter, I'd like to ask a few questions so that when people do listen, this would be more of an interview for anybody that wants to hear Jackie. So one of the first things, Jackie, if you could just spend a couple minutes to tell the listening audience a little bit about yourself and the office that you hold and the office you are running for.
Sure. My name is Jackie Walorski, and I represent House District 21 in the Indiana House, which is southern St. Joe County and southern Elkhart County. I'm married. I've been married 15 years. My husband's name is Dean Swihart, and he's a public school teacher. And I'm very proud of the fact that we're probably the most blue-collar couple that will ever have their financial records scrutinized by the federal government as they blast all over the front headlights probably of the fact of what these wage earners make. And I can tell you I'm very proud of the fact that we are middle-class working Hoosiers and always have been. I'm not a silver spoon kid. I've worked since I was 13 years old. I was a first-generation college student, paid my way through college by taking maximum student loans and paying them off 10 years later all by myself. And I worked in broadcasting at WSBT TV right after I got out of college, and then I went into becoming a development director, and I worked for many years at colleges and universities around the Michiana area, including Indiana University, raising millions of dollars to build buildings and to expand educational services and to provide adult training and places where people could come in and have options to change their careers and to sustain their family and to work into the areas that they wanted to work in. And then my husband and I got married in '95, and we went to, we relocated to Eastern Europe and lived for nearly 5 years in Bucharest, Romania. And while we were there, we were there as missionaries through our church, but we went there as kind of non-traditional business folks doing some humanitarian work as well. We established a foundation in Romania for children that were burned. There was only one burn unit in the entire nation of Romania for children, and we supplied that with literally tens of thousands and thousands of dollars of medical supplies and burn cream and things like that. And then I got involved in consulting at the U.S. Embassy, helping companies come over that were looking for places to invest as the global economy was really opening up in the early in the late 1990s and early 2000s. And I discovered that Indiana wasn't really a player with some of the other states that were coming over there and investing in that Eastern European and that Middle East market through the Black Sea. And so I came back and started investigating as to why Indiana wasn't a player and found out that Indiana was in debt. In 2004, when I came back into the country, Indiana was about $1 billion in debt. And there were a lot of really well-intentioned people at the helm of leadership in Indiana, but they really didn't have a plan. They were just kind of shepherding the state, and the state was stagnant. Economic development was stagnant. Education was stagnant. And we were in debt. And we had people that thought it was okay just to continue to tax and spend. So I got involved because I was concerned that we weren't going to have a chance. Our families and our kids would not have a chance to compete if our state didn't stand up and lead like we should, because we're common sense Hoosiers, full of entrepreneurs, creative thinking people who built a lot of homespun small and large companies here in the state. And so I got involved because I wanted to see my state succeed, and I wanted to get in, stabilize it, and get out, and it's exactly what I've done. I've gotten in. I got in 2005 was the first session, and I led the effort as a freshman on a couple of real progressive reforms for our state, which needs to happen at the national level as well. I led the charge to eliminate lifetime health care benefits for legislators because I thought the perks were too much, and believe that taxpayers shouldn't be putting the bill for that. So myself and the other freshmen that came in destroyed lifetime health care and lifetime benefits for legislators. Then we voted to set up the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, which is basically private money, a private entity infused with a little bit of public money that their main mission was to bring jobs into this state. In the last 5 years, that entity, along with the legislature and great leadership from the governor, has brought in over 100,000 jobs into the state of Indiana. And the reason today that even though our economy is tanking, we're still one of the strongest economies in this country, one of the top 10, and it's because of the fact that we've made really tough decisions. We've been very disciplined about shrinking down the size of state government and shrinking it down from 35,000 employees to 30,000 in 5 years, and literally shrinking it, freezing spending, cutting spending, cutting the government, and not having a general tax increase in the state. So we've done some really smart things, and the reason we're as strong as we are today, that we're going to emerge stronger than when we went in this recession, because we made smart decisions. Well, it became very apparent to me, as it did you guys back in, early last summer, that what was happening at the federal level was going to decimate Indiana's economy. No matter how hard we worked, no matter how much trust Hoosiers put in us, and how hard we worked to bring jobs in without increasing taxes, it was becoming very apparent that what Obama and Pelosi and Donnelly were up to was going to bankrupt our state. And I didn't think it's fair that it was happening. And I knew that if I left my state house seat, left it behind, which was my intention back in October, was to finish my term, but leave my seat, not run for re-election, and to take on Joe Donnelly and beat him. And I'm doing it because I think that if we don't stop what's happening at the federal level, if we don't freeze spending and start ratcheting back the size of this federal government and ratchet back the size of this deficit and put the lid on these mandates like this universal health care and cap and trade and the things that are coming down the pipe that they've threatened, if we don't do that, guys, there is not going to be time in 2012 to turn this around, because by that time, our dollar will have devalued. We'll have inflation racing in at double digits, and our economy won't recover. And I'm not going to stand by and watch that happen, because it affects me, it affects my family, it affects the 63,000 people I represent right now, and I didn't get into this to retire from it. I didn't get into it to replace my career. I got into this to make a difference, and the reason they've called me a pit bull is because I've learned what it's like to take on my Republican Party and win. I've learned what it's like to take on Pat Bauer consistently and for 6 years put him in a box. I get it. It's about standing up for people, and obviously people get it as well. And, the local newspapers right here call me a pit bull, and the day that we announced my congressional beginning of the race, which was January 31st of this year, we had a big kickoff, and we had about 1,300 people that crammed into this building. It was very humbling to have that many people come up for a kickoff. But I looked those people in the eye, and I told them, I said, you know what? I'd rather be a pit bull than a blue dog any day, because a pit bull is actually real, and a blue dog doesn't exist. And that's pretty much where I am. I am so fed up with this. That's why I'm asking people to stand with me. Go to my website, standwithjackie.com, and sign up with the other 4,500, 5,000 people that have already signed up. And I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a national grassroots race that the nation will be tuning into and watching us take back the 2nd District seat.
Okay, Jackie, for all those that are listening or going to be listening on our Almost Live show, please tell us Joe Donnelly's seat, what it covers. It's the U.S. House of Rep, what district, and what it covers.
It's U.S. House of Representatives District 2, so it's Congressional District 2, and it starts in St. Joe County. It's obviously right across the Michigan line, St. Joe County, South Bend, and it goes all the way down to Kokomo to the south. It goes to Michigan City to the west, and it goes into downtown Elkhart to the east. It consumes 12 counties. It's a very competitive district, and you really have to have a certain set of credentials to run in this district. And I think a couple of steps are this: number one, born and raised in St. Joe County, this seat is battled for and won by the independent voters of St. Joseph County. And one of the things that we know for sure is that as I have taken the pledge and raised my hand to support the Constitution, people know that. And over the last 6 years, as I fought hard for my constituents and fought to represent them, we've started bills and stopped bills at the state level and killed bills and done a variety of things that, have been very important for House District 21 on my state house race. But, I'm grateful for the outpouring of support that's already happened. even in places like St. Joe County, which is a very difficult place to run if you're running as a Republican. But I'm telling you, people are so fed up that they're looking for a change and they're looking to get this seat back and to put it back in the hands of the people. So it's a lot of territory, and it's very rural once you get south of Marshall County until you get back into that Kokomo area. But I've been in Kokomo the last 3 days into the Howard County area and spoke at the Tea Party candidate forum the other night, and they declared me, the Kokomo Tribune, I believe it was, declared me the winner of the candidate forum, and it was the 2nd congressional district, all the candidates, and it was also the 5th congressional district. And I picked up so many volunteers from the 5th district that said they wanted to sell their houses and move into my district. So I thought, you know what, something's going right when you got people saying they're going to sell their houses and move into your district because they actually believe in the message that I'm talking about, and they believe in the fact that I can beat them. And that's been very encouraging in this district because it's a very long, broad district.
Okay, we have some questions. I want to go this way. Whoever does listen, they're going to get a good feeling of who you are. So,
sure.
Do you feel that Congress is doing a good job, and what would you do if you were elected?
No, I just kind of alluded to that. I don't think anybody thinks that Congress is doing a good job. I mean, the last polling I saw, congressional approval rating is below 25%. Now it's down in the 20 percentile, and that's because people are so fed up. And what I would do differently is I would do what I've done at the state level. You know, I would just start with, you got to freeze the state, you got to freeze the federal spending. You got to freeze the budget and freeze the spending before you can start reducing it. You have to stop it before you can turn it back. So the first thing that has to happen is federal spending has to be frozen. And then in order to start ratcheting back that deficit, programs are going to have to be cut, and the size of the federal government is going to have to be shrunk back and completely shrunk down from the top, which is what we did in Indiana. And when people, when I hear people talk about all these lofty ideas, it's like, folks, you know what, there's nothing pretty about this. It's going to be brutal. But the flip side is, if we don't go in there and shrink down this federal government, the flip side is, the other part of the story is going to be even nastier if we can't get a hold of this out-of-control spending and get a hold of what's going to happen with our dollar to values and when the inflation comes in behind it. So that's what I would do. I would do what we did in this state and stay away from tax increases, give tax cuts back to the middle class, and start undoing what these guys have done. And one of the problems is right now, one of the reasons we have no investment in our country by corporations, Obama passed a bill today, or the Congress did. They were bragging about this afternoon, saying that they have this new jobs bill, and they're going to incentivize businesses by giving these little tax write-offs. And, I talked to many, many corporations, many CEOs who are telling me they don't want a tax write-off. They don't want some little tax credit for hiring somebody. They want to know, and they want to be assured that the next shoe is not going to fall on their corporation with either some new regulation, some increased utility costs because of cap and trade, or that the shoe's not going to drop on them with this mandated health care bill that's going to put many of these people out of business. So until we bring some stability back to the spending and stop it and assure the employers of this country that they're going to be free to spend money, we won't turn this around. So we have got to hire not only fiscal conservatives, but pit bulls that are willing to go in there and tell Nancy Pelosi to take a hike and visibly and verbally lead, which is what I've done in the state of Indiana. And that's what has to happen. It's not pretty, and it's tough stuff, but that's where we're at.
Okay, well, we're going to get through these, so a little shorter. What is your feeling about the U.S. Constitution?
Well, I think I just alluded to that.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I believe that the U.S. Constitution is a framework that holds our country together. And when I took an oath to support it when I was elected in 2005, it's very serious business. I mean, you can feel the burden of the oath because it has been bought with blood. It's a blood-bought right to be in this country. This is the greatest country on the face of the earth. The Constitution is worth fighting for, worth protecting. And, I've been involved at the state level in making sure that bills have been killed at the state level, but I've led the effort to kill them because they weren't constitutional, because I thought they infringed upon our constitutional rights in the state of Indiana. And I've battled at the state level to make sure that we can still hang on to some of our constitutional rights, like the Second Amendment. I'm a huge supporter of the Second Amendment.
That was the next question. What is
good.
That, we're going to try to get through this real quick. So, since you're constitutional, your position on the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I think it's critical. I've carried a gun since I was a reporter. As a freshman when I came in, I co-authored Indiana's lifetime handgun permit and just led the way this last session for this workplace carry bill that the governor just signed today, House Bill 1065. And I supported and voted for and helped carry the bill on the castle doctrine, which says that your castle can be defended in the state of Indiana if you feel like your life is threatened and your castle is your car or your vehicle or your personal space. And I just think it's imperative, especially in this culture we're in right now, that we fight and maintain the ability to bear arms. And I've written several amicus briefs for cities around the country that have fought to ratchet back the regulations that the cities have imposed on with gun bans in Chicago. I've written amicus briefs in D.C., tried to overturn the gun ban there. And I'm a huge proponent.
All right. How would you vote on any legislation that would be full of earmarks?
I'm against earmarks, and let me tell you this. I've had many people ask me that question, Mark, and I think the key to repealing and getting rid of earmarks is this. It's not just being one congressman saying, well, I'm not going to take them. Because if you have the attitude, I'm just not going to take them, then they're just going to divvy up money and sending it to somebody else's district. The way you combat the attitude of earmarks is you build a bipartisan coalition, a voting bloc, and you go in there and you change the dynamic and the direction of Congress by having a voting bloc that you can block the votes that come down. We did that in Indiana. I did it as a freshman. We came in with 7 people, and we had enough people to block things that we didn't think were good for our districts or for the state of Indiana. And I'm willing to lead the charge to build a coalition. I'm willing to lead the charge to get rid of earmarks. But you simply do not do it by saying I'm not going to take them out of my district and, make some kind of almost like an egotistical charge that your one vote will make a difference. It won't. But when you build a coalition with younger people and new people to come in, Republicans and Democrats, and even from the Tea Party movement itself, and say, we're going to build a group of people that are going to block this, and that's how you change the direction of Congress.
All right. How about the question of how do you feel on term limits?
I think term limits should be imposed at every level of government, and I've never been more convinced of that since I was elected in the State House. I think, it's healthy. We obviously have it in the executive branch in Indiana at the federal level, but I think it's got to happen at every level. And no matter how well-intentioned people are, you guys, no matter how well-intentioned they are when they're elected, when you sit in those seats, and I've watched these guys that have been there, 20 and 30 and going on 40 years, I'm sorry, but you know what, there's brighter people and younger people, and the culture changes. There's always somebody behind you that has a better idea, and I think that's what the Founding Fathers thought when they framed the Constitution. And I think what we're evolving into in this country is there's such a saturation of power in the minds of some people. I think the only way you break that and keep it level and balanced in this country is term limited out.
All right. Well, so far I think everybody will be in agreement with you. The next question I had, but I think you've already answered it. How do you vote on the current health care bill? I'm assuming that's a no.
That's a big no. And let me just say this though, Mark. It's not just about casting a one vote and voting no and saying, well, I voted no. There's a difference between, and you guys know this, there's a difference between voting and leading. And, I've chosen to be a leader, and I've chosen to become a leader in my caucus because I didn't go to the Indiana State House to just vote and go. I went down there to lead, make a difference, and get in and get out. And, the difference is this. What I would be doing right now, what I expect Joe Donnelly to be doing is leading and getting out there with his constituents and saying in a very vocal and visible way to Nancy Pelosi, no, we don't want this. Not just a simple no vote and saying, well, I voted no, and hiding behind a vote. It's getting out there on MSNBC and CBS and NBC and ABC and Fox, and it's being a vocal member of that caucus and saying, my district doesn't want this, and I'm going to lead the effort to stop it, even though it goes against my party. You never see him doing that. That's what leadership is about. That's what representing people is about. It's not about beholden to your party or beholden to your friends. It's about getting out there and helping stop it. I haven't seen him help stop anything in this health care issue. And I went to talk to him last year in August. I took him the white paper that was produced in Indiana to talk about how bad this bill was. And he looked me right in the eye and told me he was voting for it. He was voting for the public option. It's like, well, you know what? That's totally contrary to this district, and it's time to elect somebody that'll lead and not just hide behind votes.
Well, I think that's why you have such a following. And here's another question. What is your take on cap-and-trade legislation, and what would you do different?
Cap-and-trade is dangerous for the state of Indiana because we're a coal state. And, I would incentivize companies to invest in things like coal gasification and pure, clean burning technology and incentivize them and not mandate anything. Because if we mandate in the state of Indiana, we're going to be looking at triple and quadruple tax increases when it comes to utilities, and that's not going to help anybody in this state. It's going to cost jobs. Cap and trade for us is a job killer. And actually, let me say this, Mark. The real question to me with this question of energy policy, which is where you're going, is why in the world are we still dependent on foreign oil when this entire administration was elected on the premise of getting us off of foreign oil and drilling domestically? So why in the world are we still here 2 years later, and Joe Dowling was elected 4 years ago talking about getting off of foreign oil, and here we are, not one bill filed, not one bill passed, not one common sense solution. And so I think the cap and trade has been a big smokescreen for their lack of interest in actually getting us off of foreign oil.
I couldn't agree anymore. So here's just a couple more. Do you believe in global warming, and do you think that the problem comes from man-made emissions?
I missed the first part of that, Mark. I'm sorry.
Do you believe in global warming, and do you?
No.
Okay. And do you think there are man-made emissions that are causing this problem?
You know what? No, I don't believe in global warming. And the Earth is cyclical, and I think all the research and all the differing opinions in science about what's happening in the environment, I think, clearly we're supposed to be good stewards of our environment. I think it's a biblical concept, and I believe that, and I agree with that. I think we've done a good job in an industrialized nation, the leaders of a free world that we are, in trying to maintain some balance between being good stewards and taking care of our environment, but also being able to continue to evolve in this world that we're in with jobs and a prosperous environment, and also prosperity in the world of business. I think the global warming thing is completely hyped up and made up. And again, when it comes to the whole concept of emissions and what are we doing with energy, I think the biggest issue that we face in the land of energy is the issue of being dependent upon foreign oil and continue to send billions, if not trillions of dollars to nations that want to destroy us.
Yes, yes. All right. With this current economy the way it is, what do you think has contributed to the slowdown of the economy, and what is needed to recover at this point? And I think you've already elaborated on some.
Yeah, I think, Peter, it's this issue of how unstable the federal government has made our economic environment so unstable that corporations aren't investing. And we're not seeing people invest in R&D, and they're not adding additional employees, and they're not expanding their facilities because they don't know when the next shoe is going to fall on their company. It's going to require some massive amount of cash layout because of a mandate. And I think what I'm hearing from corporations, and not just my opinion, but fact, is until we get a handle on freezing what they're doing at the federal level, we're not going to, I don't think, see any kind of a noose be loosened around the necks of these companies. And if the companies don't invest, then nobody is going to benefit from that. So I think that's step one.
Okay. All right. There's just two more questions. Do you know about the fair tax, and do you support it?
I do. I don't know enough about it to do a dissertation on it, but I know enough about it to know that I like it, because don't forget, I led the charge in the state of Indiana for 2 years in a row to eliminate property tax in the state of Indiana. So I looked at a model very much like what fair tax is. Getting rid of one whole set of taxes and tax base and then implementing a service type of user fee. And, it would have worked in Indiana to eliminate property tax, and I think it will work on the federal level of fair tax as well. So I'm very interested, and I definitely support the concept.
All right. Okay. Do you think that, this is the last one here, do you think that Social Security is safe, and would you do anything different if you were in Congress now?
Well, I don't think it's safe. It's obviously going bankrupt, just like Medicare is and Medicaid. And I think the one thing we have to do is the thing that Bush actually tried to do a couple of years ago, which is privatize Social Security, allow people to invest in their own retirement and get off of what's happening at the federal level with Social Security. We have such a spending problem. We don't have a revenue problem in the country. There's no reason why everything is going bankrupt with Social Security and Medicare. It's not a revenue problem. It's a spending problem. And until the spending gets under control, we're not going to be able to solve anything at the federal level. So I think privatizing it, allow people to have control of their own destiny and not be reliant upon the federal government as a place to start.
Well, Jackie, I think with the way you answered all these questions, I think you are just a fantastic individual. I'm sure that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you guys are doing this. I think it's a great idea.
And I know Peter's probably has some questions, but those were some of the main questions that I feel that I want to ask all the federal candidates at this level. You know, this way people could come and listen to our archive shows, or you could direct them if they even want to hear questions like this.
Right.
So
and hey, let me just interrupt and tell you, I'm getting ready to cross into the Michigan line, and I may lose you. I'm on my cell phone.
All right. Peter, sorry to leave you out there so long, but
no problem.
Do you have anything here for Jackie?
Well, Jackie, I don't mind being unabashedly biased. You're going to win the primary, and you must win the election in November. Indiana District 2 is counting on it. Our country needs leadership that you offer. We must take advantage of this opportunity to restate our position of a God-centered country, fidelity to the Constitution, and return to responsibility on all levels, spending, personal, and government.
I agree, Peter. I couldn't agree more with you guys. And you know what was really amazing to me, Peter, is I was at that Kokomo Tea Party candidate forum on Tuesday night, and now these people have never met me in their lives, all right? And I just went there and shared my heart with them, and I answered the questions just like I answered your questions. And, you know, these people were standing up on their feet. I think they were standing ovations almost every question. It was unbelievable. But here's what's amazing. And this is how you know that there's a grass movement afoot here that's going to change the direction of the country. Those people came up to me afterwards, and they waited in like a double line all the way back to the back of that building to talk to me. And what they were saying was this. They weren't coming up and saying, oh, I hope you win. Oh, good luck. Those people were shaking my hand, looking me in the eye, and they said, I believe you can beat Joe Donnelly. I believe you can help turn this country around. There's a difference between, oh, good luck, and looking somebody in the eye and saying, I believe it's possible. I believe you can do it. And I'm telling you, that's the thing that I thrive on. That's the energy that excites me and that keeps me going, is that we can do this together. You know, when Joe Donnelly and George Soros and Nancy Pelosi and all these people look at me, they see 25,000 people behind me, and they're afraid of you guys. They're not afraid of me. They're afraid of us, and they're afraid of you. And that's a good position to be in.
Well, all I got to say is, Jackie, the energy that you just exert over the phone, in person, whatever it takes, I mean, it's just, you have a lot of energy, positive energy, and the passion that you have, you know, just exerts, I believe, to anybody that's out there in front of you listening. And you're amazing, and I wish you all the greatest luck. And it sounds like the people and every person that you come into is just going to want to be there in your corner. That's all I can say.
Well, we're gaining a lot of momentum, a lot of traction, thousands of people, and I appreciate the opportunity to have a voice here on your show, and I appreciate the work and energy you guys have done. And, you know, Peter's just on the front. Peter's a frontline warrior like I am. And I don't know you, Mark. I know you are as well, or you wouldn't be doing this. But it's the frontline warriors and the frontline fighters like us who are going to win. So I appreciate all the effort. It's a team effort.
Oh, it is a team effort. It's a patriot effort. You know, I've been around Peter. I've got to know Peter and a few other Tea Party leaders around the line, the state of Indiana, and a bunch of great people. You know, a lot of this Tea Party, you know, bringing people together and standing up for what we truly believe in, like the Constitution, and we're here, and I just see great things happening because of this movement and the American people just standing up, saying enough is enough.
Oh, I agree. You know, this is a time, and a lot of people have been involved in this race and have come from the north, south, east, and west, have never been involved in any race before. And, you know, they're kind of coming along from all walks of life and, you know, all geographic areas. It's very encouraging. And you know, I trust the American people. I trust voters. And, you know, they know their gut. They know what's right and wrong, and I trust them on this one as well.
Jackie, you are an Indiana treasure, and you're about to become a national treasure. We're counting on you. We're behind you with all our hearts and all our souls and all our minds.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
Okay. You know, the only thing is I'm surprised we didn't get any callers if it had to do with me not saying the number. For all you anybody's out there got a question for Jackie and you're listening, you know, the number's 1-646-378-1519 here at Tea Party Talk, Indiana. But, Jackie, I wish you all the greatest luck, and it sounds
Thank
like
you so
have
much.
everything in control. I mean,
not really. We're moving 18 hours a day.
well, hey, you're doing it. You know, as you know, Nike used to say, just do it.
Just do it.
You go, girl.
That's
Thanks,
it,
man.
Jackie.
See you
Hey,
soon.
See ya.
All right, thanks,
All right,
Jackie.
okay.
Good
All right,
luck.
bye-bye.
All right. Hey, Peter. This is Jackie was everything plus more than you said.
Well, you know, I am not easy at times, Mark, to convince of things. Once you've been a parent, like Dawn and I have 5 children, and become a grandparent and go through life, you become a little bit jaundiced. You really do, and you get a healthy cynical streak in you. And I followed Jackie from her state representative career very closely, and stayed very closely aware of what her voting record was and her initiative. And it was clear to see and feel her passion. But one of the things that you will inherit by having Jackie Walorski as your representative is the term leadership. Jackie's not there for a roll call and a vote. Jackie's out there to build coalitions, be out in front, and move the government in the direction of the people. Not away from the people, but to the people. She's a true representative. And she builds coalitions. She's got the energy and the passion, and she's got the ideas and the execution to get all that done. So when you vote for Jackie, you're not just voting for somebody to be there for roll call. You're voting for somebody to be a leader. And you're voting for somebody to take charge. And you're voting for somebody to bring government back to you.
Well, she's definitely a leader, Peter. A strong one, a passionate one. I mean, you hear it in her voice. She, you know, not only talking about the leader, I mean, she sounds like a leader. She comes out as a leader. And just her past history, you know, precedes her and what she's doing. And she has a well-rounded individual from the background that she says. So, I mean,
Really?
it all kind of comes together for what she's doing.
You know, Mark, your grandfather and your grandparents probably taught you a lot of things, and my grandfathers were sage people. And I remember first time hearing from Grandpa, listen, son, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. Well, everybody just got introduced to somebody that walks the walk with Jackie Walorski. And that's what we need representing us in Washington, and that's the only way we're going to turn this thing around. We got to vote in a Congress full of Jackie Walorskis, and we'll take America back, and America will return to its God-centered moral compass. America will return to fidelity to the Constitution and responsibility on all levels.
Oh, so right, Peter, so right. Hey, well, now we have that. We have 16 minutes left. Let's talk about some of the current news and guys like, how they say it, you know, some of the bad guys in Congress like Kucinich that's kind of sold his country out for a little flight on Air Force One. I don't know, Peter. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Well, you know, the Kucinich flight, the Louisiana Purchase, the Cornhusker kickback, and all of the backroom deals that have been going on for months to perpetrate this sham, to perpetrate this fiasco, to impose tyranny on our country is appalling. And Mark, I just can't help but feel that if the country that America was, even 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago saw what was going on with Obama and his administration right now, that the hue and cry would be so loud that he would be totally subdued. Somehow or another, there's a strong enough group here in the country that are for the nanny state, that like the handout, that want to be taken care of, that don't want to work, that don't want to determine their own destiny. They just want a handout and to be taken care of. And that's what all this is about. Him organizing those kinds of people to support government care, Obamacare, and all of the rest.
Well, Peter, we all know that this health care bill is nothing more about expansion of government and control of our everyday lives. This has nothing to do with health care reform or reduction of health care costs.
Hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head.
So, you know, we are winning. We are definitely winning, Peter, because they haven't passed this yet. And it doesn't, right now, from what I read, I don't see, these Democrats see voting on this deem rule of the slaughter rule. They know that this is pure poison if they vote on it. The American people are not stupid. They get it. They know what's going on, and they also know that in Article 1, Section 7, it is unconstitutional what they're doing. So I think we have them on the ropes. For how long, I'm not sure, but the way I read everything from all these different websites, Peter, I see them on the ropes, not wanting to vote for this.
Well, in preparing for tonight's show, Mark, and I thought we might talk a little bit about this, I've got a conglomeration of thought in this research, and it says the following, that as a conservative, perhaps the best thing that could happen is, A, them not being able to find the votes to pass this, them being the progressives in Congress, in the House of Representatives, for them to institute this slaughter move, this deeming the law, because it is clearly unconstitutional and it will be struck down by the Supreme Court, which will put a dagger in the heart of health care in the Obama administration through 2012. So the conclusion that many came to is that if the vote can't be mustered and Obama takes this path, it's that old saying again, be careful, President Obama, what you wish for. You may just get it, and it may be the end for you.
No doubt, Peter, just no doubt. I mean, like I said, there's a lot on the table, and I just see that we're winning so far. I see it. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought I read something that the president postponed his vacation again.
Yeah,
it off till June?
He was postponing it through today, and was supposed to leave today. And the way I understand it now is that he's not going to leave until the potential of a vote on Sunday. They posted the bill, and having it posted for 72 hours is Sunday, and I understand he's not leaving till then. And I think that story is correct. I believe it is. If somebody is listening and wants to call in and correct us, they should. But you know, you hit the nail on the head of it all being about control. Jackie alluded to it several times. All of it has nothing to do with the good of the public. It has to do with control and fundamentally changing America to his image, which isn't our image, which isn't the image of our founders. And if you really wanted to fix health care, you wouldn't need 2,000 plus pages to do it. You'd simply say, we're going to be able to cross state lines to buy insurance to increase competitiveness and decrease cost. You're going to allow buying groups so that the little guy could join buying groups and act just like a big corporation, driving the price down further for health care. Both those savings would help put more people in the area of being insured because rates would drop tremendously. We could easily say there's no pre-existing condition limits. We can work on tort reform. We had a Medicare Medicaid expert address us at Michiana 912 just Monday, and in Indiana doctors' offices, because of malpractice insurance, when a patient comes in for an office visit, $36 is spent in that visit on malpractice insurance. We need tort reform. We need to expand the health care savings accounts. We need to make sure that there's catastrophic care. Mark, all of these things are common sense approaches. I'm not bright. This is just common sense. Put that together, and in a few pages, you would immediately decrease costs, insure more people, save on the budget and the deficits, and America and healthcare would be well on the way to a reform that would be lasting. But that's too easy, and that's too common sense, and that's too much on point. So anybody that believes that this whole healthcare debacle isn't about control and socializing America and turning America's republic upside down needs to wake up and smell the coffee.
But even waking up, they need to take action, take responsibility, take America back. They need to call their congressmen, senators. They need to get on the phones, emails, faxes, whatever it takes. They need to be taking action, Peter. Not only just saying that enough's enough, we have to be active and doing the things we do. And,
the days of sitting back are over. I know my wife and I looked at ourselves a year plus ago and said that from now on our lives are going to significantly change because we are going to embrace the precept that our founders established, and that's a participatory government. And we've decided to participate each and every day. That television isn't important, that sports are taking a back seat, that the only way we prepare the future for our children and our grandchildren is through participatory government. And by gosh, Mark, we're participating each and every day.
All right. We have 7 minutes remaining here, and I'm sure that you probably have something special or an event to at least let some of these listeners know. So don't you have anything coming up Saturday?
We do, Mark. We do. Thank you. On this Saturday at our Michiana 912 headquarters, Mark, which is at 60536 County Road 113 in Elkhart. That's 60536 County Road 113 in Elkhart. We have a constitutional training program put on by the Making of America, and these people were instrumental in teachings of the 5,000-year leap. And it's the foremost constitutional trainers in America. And if, as you and I have said many, many times on our show, that we want to return to the fidelity of the Constitution, well, if we want to return to the fidelity of the Constitution, we've got to learn more about it, and we've got to be much more familiar with it, and it's got to be something that we know firsthand so that when there's an affront, we can see it, and nothing ever sneaks up on us again.
All right.
Constitutional training at Michiana 912 this Saturday at 8:30. All are invited.
All right. Peter, I probably haven't said, but I was planning to be there, but because of other circumstances, as a candidate, I won't be able to make that. So you're
Talk
going
about a full plate, Mark. You're one of them. A congressional candidate, a Tea Party leader, a busy family man, and working full time. So I certainly understand your full plate, Mark.
Yeah, well, hey, the good news this past week we must share, but with all the listeners or, the almost live listeners, that are soon to be here. Our Tea Party Talk Indiana has become a favorite on the Palin 2012 favorites of Sarah Palin's, what is it, her Facebook or blog. There's a blog radio, Facebook, but all I know is we become added on to her show favorites on the Palin 2012.
You know what, when you sent me that information earlier, I absolutely blushed with humility because obviously two regular middle-class guys expressing their passions about our country is resonating with somebody, Mark, or we wouldn't end up being a favorite on Palin 2012. We appreciate Sarah and her staff for that. We're very thankful, and I know you're as committed as ever as I am to continue to go forward with Tea Party Talk Indiana and provide all Hoosiers and all listeners with facts and with opportunities to be educated and go forward to become advocates.
That's all right, Peter. Hey, Peter, are you going to have any special guests next week lined up? Have you sent any emails out yet there?
We have, and we're hoping to line up some additional United States senatorial candidates from the state of Indiana. And although I have not gotten positive yet, there are two candidates that are planning on it, and I should know for sure, Mark, either tomorrow or the next day.
Oh, fantastic, because we'll post that up on our show page, and we'll try to promote that, Peter.
Yeah, we should know tomorrow on two of the U.S. senatorial candidates. That'll be fun and lively, just the way Marlon Stutzman was last week and the dynamo Jackie Walorski was this week.
Oh, yes, yes. And just let them know the more we could get scheduled for the next few weeks, the more we could promote it all together. So,
you bet. Make it better for everybody.
Oh, yeah. All I know, Peter, is we can't sit back on our laurels, just like you said. We have to be out there being committed each and every day and do the best that we can. And there's a lot of people out there that are very passionate. I know this past week, this last Monday, we had a rally at Congressman Bisklowski's office, the Tea Party of Lake County, and a lot of good patriots. We had over 50 people there, signs, media. We had the local Channel 56. We had the Hammond Times newspaper give us a blurb along with the major article with you guys down at State House with Congressman Mike Pence.
Yeah, that was so exciting. I was very flattered and humbled by having the organizers, Congressman Pence and Indianapolis Tea Party, invite me to be the opening speaker on that program in Indianapolis, where over 1,000 rallied to hear Congressman Pence's position against health care that he wanted to state right here in his home state of Indiana. And there was a very impressive group there. And, again, I was very grateful and humbled and excited to be a part of that program right on the State House steps.
Well, Peter, sounds like you had a great week of patriotism, and so did I. And on that note, we are done here. I'm going to play a little music because we're less than a minute to this show over. So, Peter, thank you very much, and we'll
God bless.
Yes, God bless, and we'll see you next week. Okay?
Let's kill the bill, Mark.
All right, let's kill the bills out. All you patriots. Here you go, a little Bruce Ballard. All right.
You can stand there and shout, or sit there and pout, leap forward, get out of the way. There's a time and a place to get into the race, and that time to act is today. Better get in the game, or you'll be to blame. Better grab that old bull by the tail. stand up for right and prevail. Stand up, make your voice heard. Stand up, spread the good word. Stand up, join the Tea Party cause and help us throw all the bums out. Yeah. Those folks on the hill, they're saying